Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Earlier this month, President Trump suggested Vice President Vance is the MAGA movement's heir apparent. Well, Senator Tillis, thematically all through the show, not seeking re-election next year, says he's not so sure. Listen.
Is there an heir apparent, a natural heir apparent to Trump?
No, I think it's a jump ball in 28. Absolutely jump ball. I think we're going to probably see one of the most diverse fields for the Republican primary that we've seen in modern times.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see any heir apparent.
So the vice president is not the natural heir apparent?
The vice president was senator for 2 years, and he's been VP for 7 months. So he's got limited political exposure, political history. I mean, he's a good guy, JD, I like. I'm just like, people hate how abrupt I am, but I'm an analytics guy. I'm looking at him the way I looked at the 20 people I recruited to get a majority in North Carolina in 2010. He is one of several people that have to prove that they've got the chops. And, he's smart, he's capable, he's articulate, he's a good dad, and I think a good man. But he's had 2.5 years experience. And the extent to which he's going to build on that experience over the next 2 years before the race starts means that he may come in with a resume that's a little bit lighter than some of the other people considered running. It's just objectively true.
Lighter than, for example, Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Could be, if Marco decides to run, or governors who may run, maybe other senators who want to run.
You can watch my full interview with North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis on our YouTube page and all of your favorite podcast platforms. I know you might have many, but you can just listen on one. You don't need one. Joining me now here at the family table, political reporter for NOTUS, remember that's News of the U.S., Oriana González, and congressional reporter from the Washington Post, Marianna Sotomayor. I think we would all agree JD Vance will not be sending Thom Tillis a fruit basket.
Oh, yeah, that was not an endorsement, man.
It was a million miles away from one.
Oh, 100%. I think, first of all, Thom Tillis is really in his era of he can just say whatever he wants. He's retiring. He doesn't know anything. But very relevant to see. And I think what he's getting at is what happens to the Republican Party after Trump? That's what he wants to know. It's like, are we going to see candidates that want to keep Trump's legacy going, or are we going to see candidates that want a different party?
And quite clearly, he wants something different.
Absolutely. I mean, we have seen how Tillis has distanced himself and clearly be very outspoken against the administration and certain policies, and how Republicans should be thinking differently about the effects that the Trump administration has, whether it's on immigration, the economy. Republicans need to be thinking differently. And frankly, we don't know where the Republican Party will be in a year and a half. And if all of these MAGA policies, voters are saying, I don't like the way that this is happening. I don't like how the economy is potentially going to be worse. I don't like these mass deportation issues. I mean, that could actually allow a new Republican to come forth.
And let me put this before both of you. In the segment previous to you coming into the family table, we listened to Thom Tillis say, look, some of this immigration stuff may really rub those who came to the Republican Party in 2024 the wrong way, because it will too closely mirror the experience they fled in whatever country they left to come to America. I was struck by that. It wasn't just like, well, we should pay more attention to due process. No, we are creating an environment where people will be fearful, and that could hurt us politically. How do you evaluate that?
I mean, that's something I am very curious to see how all of these immigration policies end up impacting them, because the thing with the Republican Party and Hispanic voters is that we have seen Hispanic voters slowly shifting away from the Democratic Party and towards the Republican Party. How are these policies going to impact it? And I think what we're going to end up seeing, the first kind of indications of what happens, is in 2026, and then even more so in 2028.
And we're going to see it in Texas probably as clearly as anywhere, because as Republicans are redrawing these lines, they are banking on an assumption that the gains in Hispanic districts in Texas in 2024 will replicate themselves in 2026, therefore helping them reshape this map and pick up maybe 5 seats.
Exactly. I mean, that's what the White House is very much banking on. And if you talk to any Republican strategists, and even some Republican lawmakers privately, that is absolutely not a guarantee. If anything, now that members have been back home in their districts, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they are hearing from constituents who are saying, wait, my neighbor has been here for a long time. They're now getting detained. and they never committed a crime. Trump said he was only going to deport people who were criminals. And we're now starting to hear from especially the House Republican contingency of South Florida. They're being slightly more outspoken and saying this, if more people continue to have experiences, just know people in their community who are being detained, potentially deported, that is going to have significant ramifications for the party.
The anecdote effect of politics, which is what you hear, what you experience in the community closest to you, pulses through your political orientation in the very next election. That's a factor. Also, Oriana, we're seeing more and more reports across the country of labor shortages in industries that rely and have relied historically on immigrant, even undocumented labor.
Oh, yeah. And Democrats are really, really hoping they can bank on that. Because, again, as I said, like we had seen the shift of Hispanic voters towards the Republican Party, and Democrats are kind of now smiling through this, of saying as much as we disagree with these policies, they might help us in the long term with Hispanic
Marianna,
voters.
let's go back to where we started with JD Vance. The Wall Street Journal reporting yesterday that Elon Musk sort of backing away from the whole idea of an America party, a third party, and trying to reestablish his connections to JD Vance.
Yeah, it's very interesting that he is kind of positioning himself to get behind Vance, whether he ends up being the nominee, which of course Tillis says no, without saying no.
Needs to buff up his credentials.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen Musk at different points, right? His money is influential, helped Trump, but when he put his money behind the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, for example, the Republican didn't win there.
But $300 million can earn you some credentials.
Yep, sure it can.
Great to have you both. Oriana González, Marianna Sotomayor. It's been a pleasure to have you.